gaslighting doesn't stop just because you're diagnosed, and I think that I've definitely found that along the way.
Women's healthcare and like reproductive care is like the Titanic in reverse, that women and children don't go first. And I was like,
she wouldn't treat me or look after me, so discharged me back.
Oh my god! But he's the one that's been inside your body. He's the one that's the surgeon and that said, I've seen it.
I was clearly septic, and a GP told me just to up my morphine, and that night I went into septic shock and nearly died within 24 hours.
We were just kind of stuck in this fertility limbo where it was so then painful to have sex naturally.
Yeah.
And also like between like piles, bloating, nausea.
I mean, you couldn't think of a less unromantic
Do you know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
it's not going to happen.
No.
I want to ask you about your hysterectomies because you've both had them.
Yeah.
And
sisters.
God, no woo.
No woo in the end.
Gabz and Anna, thank you so much for coming on. You guys have an incredible friendship and also a working relationship. So I really want to start with how you guys met, because you connected over Instagram with your combined stories of endometriosis. So I'd love to hear how you met, really.
We always say cyber friends because it sounds very nostalgic. So sounds like seedy, doesn't it? We met on the internet.
Like talking over like Skype or like MySpace
and
or
you
something.
Always go, kids, don't talk to strangers on the internet.
Don't talk to strangers online.
I definitely spoke to a stranger.
We did, didn't we? But I think for me and Anna, it's really weird. I feel a bit foggy how we like first connected. I think
it was just following, wasn't it? I think.
And Anna used to do an Instagram live series called Menstrual Mondays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast.
You did.
That I stopped very abruptly. ADHD, chronic illness. But we kind of like, I went on Menstrual Mondays. Anna then came on my podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we just realised that we actually quite like talking to each other. And I don't know how you find it, but the endo kind of chronic illness community can be quite a tricky one to navigate sometimes.
Oh my God, Joe, when I first went on those Facebook groups, I was like, what on earth have I let myself in
They're
for?
banned.
I had to leave
We will
immediately.
never do one as a charity, and we get asked a lot, don't we? Why don't you do an online support group? I thought, one, we don't have the energy to police it, and two, I think it breeds a lot of anxiety.
Massively. I think as well it becomes a really competitive space in a really strange way.
Yeah.
It comes to, I've had this many surgeries, or my consultant's better than yours, and it's just stuff that should never be in that space, it should just be a supportive environment. I think there is a lot of negativity online, massively. So for us, I think we just got on as two human beings rather than it just be about illness. And then it was COVID, wasn't it? And
we were just coming out of COVID, weren't we?
It was coming out of the first lockdown, and I said to you, why don't you come up to Wales and bring the dog? At the time there was only Opie, and bring your husband. And and then they were
just come and stay with us.
Yeah, meant to stay for a weekend, and you stayed for a week, didn't you? Because we got on so well.
It was so nice. I think for like me and Anna, the timings when we got diagnosed as well, there wasn't lots of people sharing their journeys online. And for how it is now, where you can find really great people within the space, I think we both, when we were being diagnosed, felt quite lonely. And I don't know about you as well, like for a long time, I didn't really have anyone else who had gone through something similar to me that I could really connect with. So I think we just got on really well. Like we have a really similar sense of humour. Which is a really dark sense of humour. Like
you need it, don't you?
Do massively.
Super dark. And I think we like checking, like, is that too dark? Like, is that too deep? Like some of the things.
And then we'll
say.
go, no, it's not too deep. It's fine.
And it's just been really nice. And then I think we were both really frustrated at different areas of the UK with the healthcare system. And until I met Anna, I was completely ignorant to what was going on in Wales, to be honest. I just thought the NHS was the whole country and just operated the same. God, was I wrong?
Yeah, it's a minefield, to put it lightly. Like, we don't have the NHS app. So we have it to, like, have, letters on. But, like, Gab said to me, I'm just checking my blood results. And I went, what do you mean you're checking your blood results? And she went, it's on the NHS app. And I was like, what? Like, you get your blood results on there.
Oh my God.
Crazy, isn't it?
And it's things like, we don't have right to choose in Wales, so you don't have a choice of who you see, where you go. So it's very different.
And like the care pathway for things like endometriosis is completely
It's a
different as well.
minefield, yeah. So you have to see a general gynecologist first, to then for them to agree to refer you to a specialist centre. And we only have 2 specialists in the whole of Wales, and they're both in the south.
Oh my
One being
God.
on our trustee
So
board.
Tony, who you met at our
Yeah.
event, who is
He's
fantastic.
phenomenal. I
He
mean, he's
is.
amazing, but he shouldn't be having to carry
He's
an entire
literally-
country
he-
on
yeah,
his back.
But he is.
But
like,
he does it,
really
but you would
is.
never know either.
No.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
you? But he said the best analogy at our event, that women's healthcare and like reproductive care is like the Titanic in reverse, that women and children don't go first. And I was like, that is
God,
It's
that's
just-
brilliant.
that blew my
Yeah.
mind when he said that at the
Yeah.
event. And when he was talking, like, and you can tell how passionate he is, that he really wants patients to advocate. I was, like, ever since he's been on our board, because you met Tony on a podcast.
Yeah, I did. And I remember sitting next to him and going, he needs to be on our trustee board. Like, he's amazing.
You just
And
get a feeling about people,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah,
And I think
he's
as
been
well,
incredible.
through our own journeys, we've met some questionable medical professionals.
Yes.
We've met some amazing ones, but we've also met some questionable ones.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those ones that give you that kind of negative experience stay with you for life, and will always kind of come up when you go to see another doctor. You will always have that fear of what's happened previously.
Yeah.
So I think when I was sat next to him, and just to see that genuine passion and drive without it being, it's not money orientated, it's just pure care, for wanting better for women and young girls. And like, he has 4 daughters himself. So like, I think
Wow.
he was just, he's an incredible human being. And like our whole team, we're very, very lucky. We've got some incredible people on there.
Speaking of questionable medical practitioners, that is somewhere I'd really like to start, because you've
Yeah.
both experienced, and you're both very open about it, enormous amounts of medical gaslighting throughout your journeys.
That's what makes us funnier.
We don't recommend though.
Yeah.
No. But I would love for you to tell us. I mean, there's an arm's length of list worth of things, like stories, anecdotes you could share with us.
Yeah.
But from both of you, I'd love to hear some key ones, or ones that really stand out for you that you've experienced.
Oh, let's open the little book of trauma. I think I've got 2 really like standout ones. When I was trying to get diagnosed, I went and had a transvaginal ultrasound. The first time I had anything invasive done, I was 22.
Okay.
And it was so painful. I just cried the whole time. Went back to the GP, and just the most robotic response. She was like, "It's inconclusive. You need to go for another one." And I was like, "I don't know if I can." It was really painful. And she was like, "If you really cared about your health, then you would go and have another one." And I walked out. I did give a few choice words on my way out, which I don't obviously recommend to anyone, but I was young. I was on my own. I felt really vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'd just been let go from a job. I didn't know what was going on. I'd been with Aaron, my husband, for about maybe like a year. Like, sex was really painful. So I was just at a loss. I didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't want another horrific, painful probe back up my vagina.
Understandably.
So I left there, and then I spent about 6 months back and forth in A&E in so much pain, still not knowing what was wrong with me. And then my mum saw a tiny article in a newspaper about endometriosis, and she said, "I think this is what you have. Let's go and see another GP." Wow. And she had to like drag me there, because I was like, I don't want to go back. Saw another GP who is still my GP today, and she's absolutely amazing. But she said, "Oh, let me just have a look at the results of the transvaginal ultrasound that was inconclusive." And she said, "Oh, they've actually put down there's traces of endometriosis on it."
On the ultrasound. Oh
So
my
whether
God.
she wasn't competent enough or trained to read it, or she just wasn't that interested, because I think the vibe I got from the first GP was that I was just being difficult, like just a young woman, like I should just get on with it, basically. And then the second GP, straight away, she referred me to my endo specialist, who I'm still under today.
Wow.
And then
the differences just between 2 people's professional
Mad.
attitudes.
And she's still
Huge.
she's still training. She's still what's the word?
GP registered.
That's it. The word. Yeah. Brain fog. She still practices as a GP, and there's been other situations with this GP before then. But then when I had my first surgery, I think like everyone, you think, oh great, like I'm going to be fine now, like superhero. And then about a year after, I was back in the same pain. So I'd booked to see my consultant, and I got to the hospital. I was waiting for an hour, and then I saw a registrar, so I wasn't actually seeing my consultant. And she was so rude. She came in, like, didn't introduce herself. She just started drawing me a diagram of how endometriosis worked. And she was like, so why are you here then? And I said, oh, I'm in a lot of pain. I think my endometriosis has come back or something else. I'm not quite sure. I think I might need another surgery. And she said, oh, well, it's not your decision. You won't decide if you have a surgery or not. And I said, well, it is my decision because it's my body. And she was like, just because it's your body, it doesn't make it your decision. And I burst out crying because I was like, I've spent all this time waiting for this appointment that I thought was with my consultant. I've then had another woman tell me that it might be my body, but it's not my choice, which I think is one of the most triggering things that you can say to a woman.
100%. Also from another woman, like the statement at all.
So
but
rude.
Woman to woman.
Yeah.
With the amount of issues we've already got to say, yeah, even though it's your body, you've got no autonomy. Like we can just do or not do what we want.
Imagine. And I was like, because she said, oh, my consultant, he'll decide it. And I thought even then I was like, so you're telling me a man will decide what happens with my body, which is even more like a fuck you, basically. So I got really upset, and she just got up and she was like, I'm not dealing with you, and just walked out the room. And I was hyperventilating at this point. So the nurse was in there and a medical student, and I said, I'm not leaving until I see my consultant. So they were like, if you just sit here, like, we'll go and speak to him. And then within 5 minutes, I saw him and he was like, yep, you need another surgery, I'll list you. And I was like, that could have all been avoided.
Yeah.
So I made a complaint with PALS, and the response I got back was that I had been so abusive to the consultant that she needed psychological support because the nurse and the medical student had basically backed her story. So that was basically it with PALS then. They just weren't going to pursue it any further because...
my God.
Awful. And those two really stick out for me. There's other ones that are more current, but I'm not allowed to discuss them because of legal stuff with the hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people think that you experience more at the beginning of your journey and less as your journey goes on. And some people do get that. Some people have that constant then support and don't experience any more once they're diagnosed. But I think for both of us, we've had such ups and downs along the way. Like to this day, you think we're both like over like a decade into our journeys. And it's sometimes, I don't know about you, it feels worse than ever. I actually feel like trying to like advocate now can sometimes feel that much harder because you have so much more stacked against you.
Yeah. I think it's really difficult as well because you're talking about the negative 24/7.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there is no positive side to it. So it can become really, really draining. So you just don't really know where to turn a lot of the time. And you try to then, when you're advocating, try to keep positive for other people because you know they're watching on, looking at you in a sense of, oh, that could be me in however many years' time. But that's why I always say try not to compare to anybody because everyone's journey is so different.
Yeah.
But it's just, unfortunately, it comes down to lack of education and knowledge. We just don't have enough people who know what they're talking about when it comes to endometriosis. And that's just not within the gynae field. You know, that's primary care, tertiary care.
Yeah.
You need so many specialists involved in somebody's care with endometriosis. So why are we not training across the different fields? And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. And for a long time, I think you become angry at the system because you're just like, well, why is that education not in place? And I think that's why with MHP, we try and fight so hard for kind of just education where is needed. So things like within schools, workplaces and healthcare settings. But it's just, gaslighting doesn't stop just because you're diagnosed. And I think that I've definitely found that along the way.
All it takes is one instance of being gaslit, and that fear, let alone compound over years, but that fear sits with you and is exactly what you said. Even when you know you've got to go to the GP, maybe that's about something completely unrelated, it kind of reignites.
Massively.
So for you, in the different experiences that you've had, like, do you think that's affected you in that way as well?
Yeah. So I count myself lucky to a degree that I was diagnosed just before I turned 18. So I was young being diagnosed, but it wasn't through without a fight, if that makes sense. So I was back into to the GP from age 11, from starting my periods, really heavy, painful from the get-go. Used to bleed for up to 72 days, like bleed through pads constantly. They put me on the pill and the implant at the same time. Then they did the pill and the injection. Then they did the coil, and it was just nothing was helping.
Yeah.
They refused to refer me to a gynae until I turned 16. So when I turned 16, I was like, thank God they're going to finally listen to me here. And they referred me to a gynae, and it was a female consultant. And I thought, great, she's going to know, she's going to listen, you know, all women have periods. So we're going to she's going to know to a degree what we're going through. And she wasn't. She was so dismissive. So she just basically tried to make out that it was sexually transmitted disease, even though I wasn't sexually active. And she said it in front of my dad. And my dad, bless him, is like my biggest cheerleader. And he came to all my appointments. And she just was horrific, to the point that she said there was nothing on my scans. And my dad said, but from what I see, you need to do a laparoscopy. It's a keyhole surgery. So she agreed to do it, came out of that surgery, and she said, no, you just had a simple cyst. You have them every period. Nothing's wrong with you. And she sent a letter, and I've still got it in my file, that she sent it back to the GP saying I needed clinical psychological help because it was all in my head.
Oh my God.
And that was it then, because the GP just wouldn't entertain it, wouldn't even agree with anything that I was saying with regards to pain, just thought I was chasing pain relief, just that I was being dramatic, that I wanted time off school.
She completely undermined you. And that you mentioned like something similar yourself. Like the minute you talk about psychosymptomatic or psychiatric help or anything, you eliminate any respect that the patient has.
It basically it like invalidates it.
Yeah. And the thing is, the amount of people who have got psychological trauma from gaslighting is insane when it comes to endometriosis. And that's because you've not been heard. You know, it's not because your pain's in your head. It's because no one's listening to you to believe you what's going on with your body. Because as a 16, then 17-year-old, I was thinking, is it in my head? Am I just making this up? Is there something wrong with me mentally?
Yeah.
And I count my lucky stars every single day that, which is really weird to say that you get rushed into surgery, count it as your lucky stars. But I went into A&E, same pain, same symptoms. And I saw a general surgeon who said, I think it's your appendix. We're going to take you straight down to surgery. And lo and behold, it wasn't. But I had endometriosis around my appendix. And
quite a common story with people
very
that
common.
Get taken in for appendicitis.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No, but I'm thankful that he knew what endometriosis looked like, because there are general surgeons who don't and will miss it. He removed my appendix, but he said, I can't treat the endometriosis, so you need to go back to gynae. Same hospital as the female consultant. I was an inpatient, and he put me to see her while I was an inpatient recovering from surgery. She flatly refused to agree with his findings and said that she wouldn't treat me or look after me. So discharged me back.
Oh my
So
God. But he's the one that's been inside your body.
Yeah.
He's the one that's the surgeon and has said, I've seen it.
But because she'd gone in 4 months prior, she said, no, it can't possibly be endometriosis because I would have seen it.
Oh, I can't be wrong.
It
As a
can't be wrong,
professional,
exactly.
I can't make a mistake.
Yeah.
My ego's too big that I can't admit it.
I think the half of the problem for people with late diagnosis is ego, and it's lack of humility from like you said, from GPs through to like
To everyone.
everyone, like if they just went, I can't help you, but somebody else can. That
Or
would
let me
save-
find someone who can, you know?
Yeah, like we're not expecting medical professionals to know everything. Like not one person can know everything about one thing. Like it's impossible. And I think it's for medical professionals just to be upfront and honest and be transparent. Like I think people would actually prefer that.
Yeah. Like I was lucky. My dad, bless him, was determined like this, you're going to get treated here. Because again, first time we'd ever heard endometriosis, but he found a specialist in Birmingham that he took me privately to. And the consultant with the difference, and I know there'll be some people will say, oh, it's because he's private, but it's not. It was just the humanity to just listen. And he validated me within about 30 seconds in saying that, no, I definitely think you've got endometriosis. How much, I don't know. But I'm guessing not very much because she would have seen it if it was everywhere. Anyway, lo and behold, I have surgery and then had to come out of that to have major surgery again 2 weeks later because it was all over my bowel and bladder and had to have resections of both organs and then have my peritoneum stripped and it removed off my ovaries, womb and tubes. And I was 18, you know, like it's
just horrific.
Yeah. And I remember going back to my GP and I had my surgical photos and he turned around to me and said, are you back for the same problem then? Because he hadn't seen my note, like he hadn't read my notes that I'd had surgery. And I just literally just threw the pictures on the table. And I said, you told me it was all in my head, but it's not. And he just turned around and went, oh, I'm sorry. It's one of those things.
Those things.
And that's it. And I think, but that again comes to what Gab says is that, you know, is that attitude towards it is, there's a massive difference with consultants. There's some consultants who are there literally just because they've either been forced into the job or they're there for the money, or there are people there who genuinely want to make a difference. And we do see it, unfortunately, more with women that they get dismissed and ignored and gaslit for years because it didn't stop there. Like after my diagnosis, you know, long down the line, it's just snarky comments people, you know, doctors make. So like one told me that if I was a horse, they'd have put me down by now, you know, and another doctor said to me that it was after, there's just a lot of stuff, but it was after fertility issues. I had Grace prematurely, then we lost a baby, and they turned around and said, well, you've had one baby, but you can have more, so why do you want to hysterectomy? And I was only there because at my age, they wanted me to sign, basically the consultant said 2 consultants needs to sign off on the hysterectomy. And so I'd never seen this consultant before, and I'd sat in front of him. And he was clearly just projecting his own thoughts on me.
Yeah, his own opinions.
Women are on this planet to give birth and provide for their family.
Oh my God.
And it's just, you know, you just constant.
Very misogynistic. And I think there's like a big generational problem as well. And I think that then seeps into when newer doctors are being trained somewhat as well, that I think that it needs to kind of break this cycle of what is right and what's wrong and what you can actually, they think is okay to say to patients, because, and we talk about this a lot, that there's always like this 0 tolerance abuse policy for staff in hospital. What about patients? I don't see anything anywhere, any posters about protecting patients from staff, and whether that's clinical or administrative staff, because some of the gaslighting like we've experienced has been from reception, administrative staff, like really big like cock-ups in our care.
That reminds me of the one when you had to tell that because I just burst into tears because I was septic and needed antibiotics.
Raged I was.
The pharmacy said, if I don't get these antibiotics, the doctor was saying you need these antibiotics, and pharmacy said they'll be in by 2. If you haven't heard anything, they'll be here. If we're struggling to get them,
we were going up to Scotland literally like 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours away. So I was like, it's all right, like we'll like, don't worry, like if we've got to be late, we'll be late. Like we'll go around to like whatever pharmacy we need to go to. So we went into the reception, didn't we?
Yeah, and then it was something like 4:00, wasn't it, in the afternoon?
Yeah.
And she turned around and went, "Well, you've left it too late in the day now, haven't you? What do you want us to do about it?"
She was so rude.
And I said, "These antibiotics are literally life or death with me. I've had sepsis multiple times, near fatal." To the point, we're not joking about this. Like, these antibiotics are my lifeline. And she just was dead straight in the face. Just
Anna was
care.
literally like crumbling. Like, Anna was like, I could hear her voice going. She was like, "Please don't speak to me like that." And I was like, "I'm fucking having this."
Yeah.
So Anna went and sat down and went over. I was like, "What's your name?" And she gave me a name. I was like, "Good, because I'm going to make a complaint." Even then, she just wasn't phased at all, was she?
Whereas now, she's the nicest person to me because I put a complaint in.
Wow.
But I'm just like, but I'll never forget that, the way you made me feel. Because the thing is, I had someone who could stand up for me then, but there's people who don't have that, and they'll go home and they'll internalize what that's just done to them.
And then staff get away with it as well. I find that's the problem. A lot of people can't be bothered to make a complaint because they feel like it's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to get the justice they deserve for it. They're not going to get the outcome that's fair.
No.
Because there's still times when I'm just like, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to make a complaint because it's more hassle.
It's exhausting though, right?
It is.
It's so
mentally,
draining.
emotionally, physically, it takes everything out of you. We've already got conditions that literally drain everything from you, and it's a battle every day to get through it. To then have that, it just makes it. I've had so many receptionists, similar situations, and you're right, it goes throughout the entire healthcare system. And like you say, it's either money or cares, two different groups of people. But I just sit there and think, like, why the fuck are you in the job? Why are you here?
We always joke like there must be like, do you want to be rude to people?
Yeah.
Do you want to like
we
not
always
give
say it.
The application
You're
form.
hired.
Can you be an A-class bitch to patients? Yes.
And again, it's one of those where like some receptionists are super nice. Like at my GP surgery, there's a couple that are absolutely like A-star, incredible.
I've got to say that as well because one of my friends is doctor's receptionist.
There's been
and she's
times
great.
honestly where I've been like hysterical down the phone to them. Like they're telling me I've said something or not said something. I'm like, I know what I've said. And that's again this issue where they don't always record phone calls. Right. Whether it's GPs, whether it's hospitals. And to me, that just sets a tone that admin staff think they can say whatever they like because they know possibly that it's not going to be recorded.
Yeah.
And like a PALS process is extremely long and it's so exhausting. And I just feel like there's not better things put in place for patients if they want to complain. And like what we were talking about at our event, because someone asked that they were worried about complaining. And I'm very much like, if you need to complain because nothing will change without complaints.
Well, I really want to talk to you about this system because you're both, again, very open and definitely advocate for the fact that it is an important tool and it has a place and you need to use it because things can't get better without it.
I think we're just really experienced.
Well, I'd love to hear that experience because there'll be like a lot of people that are either scared to complain, haven't done it, or maybe feel de-skilled in how to even go about it. So what's the experience been like for you guys with PALS?
It's been tricky. I think again, coming down to just the human side of it, I think it just depends who you've got at the other end of the
who's
phone.
handling your case, I think, is a big thing.
And I completely understand and sympathise with people who don't want to do it because I put stuff off for so long to the point Gabz turned around and was like, Anna, you can't. You've got to get people involved now.
It's draining though because you're having to then relive it and you're then having to like, I think once you then put all of it down on paper, you're like, oh fuck, that's actually awful. That's really traumatic.
I think that's the hardest bit, is reliving it. I know you're living it anyway.
But you push it back.
But you push, like, I'm a very good person of pushing it right back to my brain and I'll deal with that another day. Complaints, you have to literally write everything down. And then it was like I've had to deal with a lot with my sepsis complaints, with all my kidney infections. There's been elements, so I was clearly septic and a GP told me just to up my morphine, and that night I went into septic shock and nearly died within 24 hours.
Oh my God,
and
Anna.
to the point they told my husband that they didn't think I was going to pull through. And it's things like that. I didn't want to have to say that out loud again.
Of course.
But then you have to, because they're only going to do it again, whether it be to you or somebody else. And like Gab says, it's a tool there for them to learn, whether it be as an individual or whether it be a systematic issue. Policy changes, that's how policy changes are made, is through, if they're getting so many complaints about a certain procedure, then they have to relook at it. And it is difficult, but I do think involving your kind of clinical directors of your hospitals is
It's
key.
really easy to find them as well. You
Okay.
can Google them so easily.
Yeah.
And for most NHS ones, once you find them, you can just literally Google their name with their contact details and you can find their email address.
They have to have their
has to be
email public.
Right.
So I'd be
Um,
copying them into PAL's emails.
Yeah.
I'd look for like who's the chief exec, who's the managing director, who's like the women's health services manager, that sort of title. Anyone you can copy in, your MP.
Yeah.
What you also can do, so you can log it with PALS, but you can also log a complaint with the health ombudsman as well.
Okay.
So I believe from my current complaint with PALS and the health ombudsman that if your complaint isn't dealt with by the hospital to like a satisfactory measure within 6 months, then the health ombudsman can take over.
I had that with the sepsis stuff when I had, they'd said, so it's after 6 months,
Yeah,
isn't it?
but you can log it with them kind of parallel to a PALS complaint.
So then they've got you on file for if
it just then means like if it then hits that 6 month, you've already got that in with
place.
health. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing one complaint, you might as well just do two. It's copy and
why
paste
not?
job. But
ask people to check it.
Yeah.
You know, if you like, Gab sent me her complaint. So, you know, vice versa. If you've got a friend, family member.
that's what we do as friends. You know, other friends go out for like cocktails and shopping. Well, we do that as well. But we love checking complaints and going to hospitals, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We have a
Just
lot
send it
of
to your life admin and
sorted.
But it
It's gotta
is
be
like
done.
you were saying earlier, it's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
so draining. And I think that's why a lot of people put it off, because they know how much energy it takes to have to just, one, relive it, but two, have to put it in some sort of structure.
It's then waiting for any response.
I was
And-
going to say about
yeah.
a resolution. Like, obviously, you're doing it for the bigger picture of systemic change, policy change, individual training.
Yeah.
But do you feel like you've had resolution, or no, some stuff is ongoing? But
I think it's really tricky, and I do sometimes feel that it's who writes the most like hard hitting and complaint and kicks and screams the most. But that's how it feels like with conditions like endometriosis. If you want things to be sped up, you have to
you have to be a nightmare for them.
you
on
have
their
to
end.
Yeah,
pester them in like the best possible way of saying
in a way,
that.
you're almost threatening them to a
Yeah.
degree. Throughout of all of it, there's no mental health support with anything, you know?
No.
So you're dealing with the physical, but you're also dealing with the emotional side.
Yeah.
Because no one looks after your emotional well-being
Oh, no.
throughout any chronic health condition.
Even like when you have a hysterectomy, though, there's nothing like before, during, or
No.
after.
No,
There's no like real well-being check either.
there's nothing. Like, I had mine when I was 28, my hysterectomy, nothing, you know, and there was no, had my first stoma, nothing. That first stoma failed, had to have it redone, nothing. I was in hospital every 3 to 4 weeks for a year. Nothing. You know, there's no support, and I just look at people, you know, in the community and just think that there needs to be more, you know, that it's not a rare condition. It's not rare anymore that people like myself have got stomas because of the damage endometriosis has done, because of the long delays in treatment, and we're kind of sending people around the houses rather than actually getting what they need doing. So by the time they get in front of a surgeon that knows what they're doing, they've already got irreversible damage to organs. And I just think, why are we not looking after their well-being, you know.
We're taking a quick break to say thank you to today's sponsor, BU Period. When it comes to women's health, I'm obsessed with all things holistic and natural. My go-to product is BU's pain relief patches. The combination of menthol and eucalyptus is pure bliss when an endo flare hits. Whether it's pelvic pain, back pain, leg pain, or anything else, they give me the instant and long-lasting relief I need. I wear them at home or on the go. Their discreet nature means they work under literally any outfit. And you can even set up your own subscription so that you never run out of natural pain relief. If you want to get your hands on BU's patches, you can find the link in the show notes. And make sure you use the code INJAP10 to get your exclusive listener discount. Now let's get back to the girl chat. I want to ask you about your hysterectomies because you've both had them.
Yeah.
And
Sisters.
God, no woo.
No woo in the end.
Huge decisions for both of you to make that. You've had, I counted them up when we were doing some prep, over 30 surgeries between you.
Yeah.
And hysterectomy is obviously just one of those for each of you. There were so many surgeries for both of you before that to do removal or to have different parts of your anatomy changed or removed from damage and things. How did you get to the decision of hysterectomy?
Who goes first?
You go first because you had yours first.
I had mine first. I had mine when I was 28 and it was a difficult decision. We were going through secondary infertility and like I mentioned earlier, had a miscarriage and had emergency surgery where I was told my womb was completely obliterated because of endometriosis and never to have more children because it was too dangerous. Now, I'd had a really difficult pregnancy with Grace, so it took us 2 years to conceive Grace. And bearing in mind, I started trying when I was 20. I was lucky I met my husband young, like we were 18. Well, I was 18 when I met him. He was 22. And we were lucky we were in that position. You know, we had our house, so we just knew that I had this kind of ticking time bomb, as every doctor kept telling me. At 18, I was told I'd never have children, you know, either have a hysterectomy or get pregnant. And, you know, that narrative needs to just go away fast.
It needs to die off.
It's dangerous.
It's so dangerous. And we've met, you know, young women who have been 20, 21 having hysterectomies because they think that's the answer and it's not, you know.
Some even also not knowing that it doesn't cure endometriosis either.
Yeah.
That's
the amount
what's
of
scary.
people on my comments when that like say that like, oh, I haven't got an endo anymore because I've got pregnant or because I've had a hysterectomy, and I'm like, oh my God. So I need to tell you, but I don't know if I can tell you.
I've got goosebumps now because it makes me feel like physically sick when I hear people like, but I've had a hysterectomy from endo. I'm like,
bled throughout my pregnancy. I had hyperempsis, gravidarum, and then went into spontaneous premature labour with her. So she was born 5 weeks early. So it was difficult.
To say the least.
Yeah, but incredibly grateful that I had that opportunity to have her and yeah, she's definitely my miracle because even just a couple of years later, it never have happened.
she's the best kid as well.
Yeah.
Not just saying that because but she is literally the best.
She is.
She's
amazing.
so funny as well.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, so it came to a point where I was having bladder incontinence and then went from bladder incontinence to bladder retention, full retention. So I had to have permanent indwelling catheter at that point. So I was catheterized with an indwelling for 4 years, which you're only meant to have them for 6 weeks. And that, again, that comes back to negligence because they just ignored it for 4 years. At the same time, I had really bad bowel incontinence, or it was the other way where I just couldn't go. So then I was hospitalised, and it was all coming down to endometriosis just causing absolute havoc. And then you add in periods where you're bleeding so heavy, where you're changing pads every 30 minutes and you're bleeding for as long as 72 days. You're on the pill, coil, Prostap, you know, like all these different things trying to stop it, and nothing was stopping it. My only option to try and remove one symptom was a hysterectomy. And because we'd made peace, we didn't make peace, but we were kind of forced to make peace with not being able to have any more children. and being grateful and thankful that we had Grace. And I never, especially because with Gabs's journey, I never take that for granted. Having her is just, I needed to do something in order to remove one element of symptoms. So it wasn't about, you know, stopping endometriosis growing, because we know it doesn't stop it, but it was more so removing that period every month that I just couldn't get rid of. And I was anemic, you know, I was severely ill for weeks. And some periods used to last months and months, you know, where it was just constantly bleeding, and that's not healthy for anyone.
No.
So it wasn't me who suggested it was the consultant. And so we made the decision, and they removed my ovaries as well, which they don't tend to do in younger patients, because obviously the protection for your bones.
I love what it's called.
Salping.
It's bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy. What a mouthful.
What a word.
I know.
Jesus.
I just say my ovaries are gone.
I just say the whole lot's been whipped
out and incinerated, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest thing going into menopause that young was the lack of aftercare with it.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. You know, they put you on HRT and you're done, you know, go. And it was only 2 years later that I was really struggling with hip pain, hot flushes I'd suffered all the way through, but I kind of just accepted that that was normal. And I didn't realise I wasn't absorbing my HRT. And it wasn't until I got referred to rheumatology, who suggested doing a DEXA scan, that they said I was borderline osteoporosis in my hips and lower spine.
Oh my God.
Which could have been prevented or at least slowed down. When they did my hormone check, my estrogen was under 90 and it should be in its 400s. And I was on the highest dose of HRT and I just wasn't absorbing it.
So many opportunities to catch and to do something
and again,
and to intervene.
Yeah, I think that's something we've both said, isn't it? There's been elements throughout our whole journey, you know, like trying to get diagnosed, then you're diagnosed and then having to navigate all the different types of treatments. Then you have big surgeries like hysterectomies, then you're let down in your aftercare. The only one I will absolutely sing their praises on is my stoma nurses, post-stoma care. Like, they do God's work. They're incredible.
They are really nice,
they're amazing.
I think they really put the work in, because I think they obviously can feel if there's lackings
somewhere. Yeah, and they'll fight your corner tooth and nail. Like my stoma nurse offered to sit in with me on my consultant appointment just to fight my corner.
Wow.
Because I was trying to get a referral to a specialist centre. And I think that is what's really devastating, when you have something that's not just so physically, you know, like it impacts you massively with your kind of your body having a hysterectomy, because your body just changes after having a hysterectomy. Your skin gets impacted, your hair loss.
The skin is awful.
Your skin really, your skin texture changes. You know, your metabolism changes. Just your fatigue levels go through the roof. You thought they were bad before, you know, they go much worse. But also that's all to do with how, you know, managing with your HRT and knowing what you can take and what you can't and what vitamins will help. And, you know, like magnesium, I didn't know until 3 years in that magnesium was like a, you know, like the holy grail when it comes to menopause. And they just tell you nothing. And I think there's so many opportunities within women's healthcare to help, but they don't. No. And it would save them so much money in the long run. That's the annoying thing. You know, like, I'm going to cost them more now if I get to needing a hip replacement before the age of 45, you know? Whereas if that could have been prevented. Yeah, it's just frustrating.
And Gabs?
It's fun.
Your hysterectomy?
Yeah, mine's super fresh. I'm like 4.5 months post hysterectomy, which
very fresh.
It's weird because it feels like eons ago, but equally it feels like yesterday. But For me, I got diagnosed with endometriosis at 23, and then when I had my second laparoscopy at 24, I got diagnosed with adenomyosis as well. And I was like, don't know what this is, don't know how to spell it, and no clue. And my consultant's always been like very empathetic and direct with me. And he's never said to me like, have a baby or have a hysterectomy. But a lot of other doctors and medical professionals were like, well, have a baby, have a hysterectomy.
Right.
And at 24, I was like, I don't want to do either. Like, I'd met my husband, we were serious by then, but we weren't at a point where we were like, let's just have a baby.
Yeah.
So, but I thought, do we just have a child now, just for the sake of it, because I don't know how long I've got. But we didn't, and I'm glad we didn't at that point, because I feel like the last 10 years I've just constantly got progressively more unwell as the years have gone on, been diagnosed with fibromyalgia as well, and then PMDD this year as well, and just a lot of chronic pain, bowel issues from endometriosis. My bowel is absolutely ruined, where I keep getting it growing back on my bowel, and then it kept fusing my bowel and my ovary together. And I was, when we say lucky, in the sense that when I had my 4th surgery, my mum paid for me to go privately because the NHS wait times were horrific. But my bowel and my ovary were so stuck together. If I'd have waited on the NHS, I don't know if I would have had an ovary still by then, or if I would have had my bowel.
Oh my God.
So I was lucky in the sense where my mum could pay for me to go privately. And I'm always so grateful to her for that. And it makes me feel sick, the thought of thinking of organs stuck together. Like, it's mental. So for me, it was like a mixture. I feel like I was building up to this ever since I got diagnosed. I always felt like I was going to end up having a hysterectomy.
Okay.
And I think, and I'm sure a lot of people do this who have endo and adeno, that a lot of the time I feel like we use endo as the primary source of symptoms.
Yeah.
And I think it became more apparent to me over the last couple of years. So I had my 4th surgery in 2022, and then 2024, so last year I had my 5th surgery.
Wow.
And I said to my consultant, so I had it February last year, that if things weren't kind of less shit basically by the end of last year, that I would want to explore having a hysterectomy, because my periods were really painful, ovulation was absolutely horrific, and then being diagnosed with PMDD, I just wasn't having a break the whole month, and then adding in flares as well and fibromyalgia. I was like, when the fuck do I have a respite then?
Yeah,
never.
Not a single day where you could just breathe.
No, and like I always laugh when you see those memes like, when you're in ovulation you feel like sexy and horny, and I'm like,
That was never.
I literally felt like I could like just throw my body into a blender.
I just remember the twisting of the
Oh,
ovaries,
God,
the
yeah,
pain.
gag.
Like,
Awful,
no,
isn't it?
I couldn't think of anything worse than having sex.
When you're absolutely
Ovulation.
not.
Yeah, they always talk
Gross.
about how, like, you know,
You're all sexy and horny.
Yeah,
Nah.
no, thanks.
yeah.
I'll be in my bed.
I could have easily just
Curled up.
whacked off my ovary when I was ovulating.
The
Awful
times
pain.
where you feel like you could hack your insides
Oh,
out.
awful, isn't
So many
it?
times.
But I think I just got to that point end of last year, like an accumulation of things where I was like, I cannot carry on like this. I'm in so much pain. I am struggling so much physically and mentally. I've just reached that point where after my 3rd surgery in 2020, I had my coil out, and we were going to start trying straight away. And then my husband got long COVID.
Oh, God.
And he tested positive for like 6 months.
Wow.
So my consultant was like, don't try and have a baby because it's not particularly safe to do it.
Yeah.
And then by the summer, I then got COVID, and then I was just so unwell. So in between like very like seldom trying and me being so poorly, we then were referred to fertility. And fertility is a minefield in itself, where my BMI is high because I'm short as well.
Okay.
I'm a short girl, and
queen.
short queen. And from being chronically ill, I've put a lot of weight on. So my BMI was already against me, and I had to lose 2 stone before being eligible for any IVF. So they were like, you're on the list, and as soon as you lose the weight, you can be referred to a clinic, because initially what they want you to do is maintain that weight for 6 months. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's really unfair.
No.
So they were like, we'll forego that bit.
Okay.
The BMI they wouldn't forego because obviously it's NHS. They don't want to waste their money.
Okay.
So we were just kind of stuck in this fertility limbo where it was so then painful to have sex naturally.
Yeah.
And also like between like piles, bloating, nausea.
I mean, you couldn't think of a less unromantic
Do you know what I
environment,
mean?
right? It's not
Like,
going to happen.
No. Over time, over the last couple of years, me and Aaron just felt like more and more that my health was getting worse and worse, not just physically, but mentally. And I just felt like, I don't know if I've actually not got what it takes to be a parent, but to be able to have a child, then be well enough to the degree I want to have that child. And I think that was like a big part of that decision as well. And I'm very like analytical, methodical. I have to think everything through. And by the end of last year, I was like, I've made my mind up. I'm not going to change it. I am that person. Once I've decided, I don't backtrack.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my consultant and he was like, that's fine. It was a telephone appointment. He was like, I think that's an option if that's what you want to do. He was like, I can see the pros of it, but I also want you to think about it and I want to see you face to face before we decide, and we can decide what we keep in, what we take out. And I really respected him for that, because he could have been like, fine, I'll list you.
Yeah.
But because we've had a long-standing relationship, like he's been my consultant for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
He knows me literally inside out.
Yeah.
He's done all my surgeries, NHS and private.
Yeah.
So then when I saw him in the spring, before we kind of discussed what he would remove and what he'd take out, he did a transvaginal. And I'm not even joking you, the difference when someone who is skilled doing a transvaginal, straight away he went, your adenomyosis has changed from focal to diffuse. So it's changed from being in one place to it's kind of sprinkled all the way across the front of my womb. He said, you've got an endometrioma on your left ovary. So he said, I'll have to remove that because it's compromised. And because he said, have you been in a lot of pain with it? I said, yeah, but nothing more than normal.
What's new?
Just like keeling over in Marks and Spencer's, no biggie. So he was like, I'll remove the left. I was like, that's fine, because I was expecting him to be like, I'll remove everything. And I said to him, I'd rather you remove the right as well, because of now having PMDD. I said there's just too many other factors. Essentially as well, I don't want to have to keep going in to have more and more and more removed. Just wham, bam, take it all out. So we made the decision to have the full hysterectomy with the salpingophractomy. Ovaries out, the lot. And then when I had the surgery, they then did the pathology after, and I had some polyps and I had some fibroids as well, and my cervix was inflamed. I was like, it just makes, I feel like I can just imagine a cervix on fire when they say that.
Yeah.
And just
Very
getting like
visual image.
a fire extinguisher. And I had a lot of adhesions, like pulling my left ureter down, like all up my left side. But it's been a tricky recovery, because some of the issues I'm having with the hospital are linked to my hysterectomy.
Right.
So what should have been a more relaxed recovery, if we can call it that, has been shadowed with issues with the hospital and feeling quite vulnerable and violated because of stuff.
Right.
So it's been a weird recovery, and I think because I am still in a lot of pain, because my bladder and my bowel are not great, and I think initially with that I was thinking, it's my adenomyosis is probably just irritating my bladder, it's probably irritating my bowel, but now I don't have a womb. I'm noticing that I'm still having these issues, and I know partly it's probably still things settling down, but equally it's the pain is just as bad as it was before my hysterectomy. So I'm just concerned that I've had a hysterectomy. I didn't expect it to be a miracle cure. But for me, if it could stop my period, stop ovulation, and reduce my PMDD, but also get rid of that pesky left ovary, then to me, I have to take that chance. I've been doing this now for over 10 years. I've tried so many different treatments.
Yeah.
It was just, to me, the pros of having it outweighed the cons. And I think everyone's different. And so many people are you better now? You don't have your womb. And I'm like, no, not really, because I think there's been so much damage already done from endometriosis. The hysterectomy has definitely cured some things, like great, no periods anymore, and
Yeah.
that's suffering. But then I think it just kind of brings other things to the forefront
Yeah.
that you're really struggling with. So yeah, and I think the grief of then not becoming a mum is something that I think I was more prepared for the hysterectomy because I had always thought about it being an option, and it's something I'd really thought about. But it's still hard though, and I'm lucky I've got dogs.
Yeah.
And I've got like friends who've got lovely children who I can just spoil and give back after.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really hard decision, and I think there's no right or wrong for people when they make that decision. And I think people think they just expect after to have like everything's just like settled physically and emotionally, but it's okay to still feel like sad and all that grief after, because it's a decision that no one should ever have to make, really.
You still have that 4 years on. Like, I'm 4 years on. You still get that grief and sadness. So I think, I think as well is people not to rush into the decision. And if a consultant rushes into the decision, it's a red flag in itself.
Definitely.
It's not something to take lightly, because you're taking away something and replacing it with something else, because menopause is no joke for some people.
Menopause is not a vibe. And I think when loads of people were giving me like their 2 cents about having a hysterectomy and HRT, you don't have HRT, you do this, and I have always said the only person's story I've taken into account is Anna's, from the aspect of the lack of aftercare and support she had with her HRT. So that was one thing. We're really lucky. So Angela, who's one of our trustees who was at our event, she's a menopause specialist. So she did a consultation with me before my hysterectomy, because she owns a private clinic, Spice to Pair, if anyone needs it. Very, very good.
Yeah,
shout out
she's
Spice
brilliant.
Pair. So she basically went through everything with me and kind of said, like, these are the options you could go with, like, but it's entirely up to you. And then she writ up the plan for me, and then I gave that to my GP. And my GP was great. She was like, this isn't my speciality, so I kind of take on board what this person said. And my endometriosis consultant agreed with it as well. So I'm lucky that at my GP, I have a GP that specialises in menopause as well. So I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah.
And I think some of the contacts we've made, so a consultant that we know, he runs the complex menopause clinic at my hospital. So he's like, if you need to get referred to see me, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
But adjusting HRT is a really tricky thing. And I would say one thing that I don't think I was probably told enough about is things that can happen around like deficiencies. Like I'm B12 deficient now, which honestly has made me feel like I could just fling myself off a cliff, because I think that when that level drops so far, and Anna will know because Anna's B12 deficient, it honestly sends you like over the edge, and it's then working out like what levels are low that you need to adjust. So I think that's been tricky, just doing that adjusting, because I feel like if anyone's done like chemical menopause, that's really, really tricky in itself. But then this is completely permanent. Like there's no stopping that.
back.
Yeah. You can't be like, I'm not having that Zoladex injection this month. No way.
No.
So
It is rough.
yeah. And I think it's just really leaning into like, it's okay to not feel 100% or feel like you have your shit together. But that's the thing, is like, I feel like these huge life changes, it's not really important. And it goes back to things like workplaces, like where we've done our toolkits and we're working on how to support workplaces more, and healthcare professionals, charities and advocates, and all of these people cease to exist because the government and our healthcare system are not doing enough.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's all well and good putting it into headlines saying that they're going to focus on it more.
Or there's another report of statistics. I'm
But
like, what are you doing with it?
We need action. And the issue is there is no action.
Can I say my favourite analogy?
Go on.
I always say it's all fart and no shit.
Yeah.
All fart, no shit. It always goes down well when we have like a really serious meeting.
Yeah.
But it's true though, like as crass as it sounds, that's how it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just all talk.
But the thing is, we're not talking about massive things here. You know, like just doing extra training within a GP practice, that's not hard. They do training on asthma, they do training on diabetes, you know, like there's all these different things that women and those assigned female at birth are 51% of the population.
Yeah.
Okay. So we should be, why are we not catering to that? But yet we're catering absolutely fine for men.
Yeah.
But we're not.
Erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, gets more funding than endometriosis. Also, male baldness gets
Yeah.
more funding than
I
endometriosis.
just got along because that's awful.
But you know, those two things,
But you
yes,
think, like-
maybe impact your self-confidence. But do they make you lose organs? No, they don't.
But they would never be expected to have, like, I saw you had your core removed, didn't you? They
I
would
did.
never be expected to have those under local. They would straight away be like, you have to have general for men.
Yeah.
But look at the, you know, the new, well, it's been coming forever, but the new contraceptive for men that goes into their penis, they automatically get anaesthetic with that.
If we weren't sat here, or if it was just yourself and a younger version of you walked through the door and sat down and you could talk to her, what's one line you'd say to her?
Have more confidence in yourself. Believe in what you know about your mind and your body. I think my whole younger self always felt like I just didn't believe myself. I always thought that I was just being dramatic, over emotional, oversensitive, whether that's my physical health or emotional health or being neurodivergent. So I'd just say, trust yourself and have more confidence.
Anna?
I'd say I believe you. I think that's one of the things I would say to my younger self, just to know that I wasn't going crazy. You know, it's cost me masses in life. Like, it takes so much from you. But the thing that sticks with you is not having that kind of, you know, adult figure in your life who believed you.
Yeah.
So I'd say I believe you. And also, like Gab said, trust your gut in a sense of you're entitled to ask for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinions. Because you know when something's not right with your body.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd have did that because it might have avoided the 18 surgeries.
I'd also say, Gabs, get your mum to take out private medical insurance.
Yeah, that's one thing my dad did incredible. And
That's
when
what I always think I wish
Grace was
could have
born,
done.
I took it out.
Yeah. Thank you